Hospital bosses ignored months of doctors' warning about Lucy Letby. Hospital bosses failed to investigate allegations against Lucy Letby and tried to silence doctors. The lead consultant at the neonatal unit where she worked has told BBC. The hospital also delayed calling the police despite months of warnings that the nurse may have been killing babies. The unit's lead consultant, Dr. Stephen Breary, first raised concerns about Letby in October 2015. No action was taken and she went on to attack 5 more babies, killing 2. Letby has been found guilty of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder 6 others in a neonatal unit at the Countess of Chester Hospital in Cheshire. The first 5 murders all happened between June and October 2015, and despite months of warning, the final 2 were in June of 2016. Dr. Breary says he demanded Letby be taken off duty in June 2016 after the final 2 murders. Hospital management initially refused. For Dr. Breary and his fellow consultants, the death of the 2 triplets were a tipping point. That evening, Dr. Breary says he called duty executive Karen Rees and demanded Letby be taken off duty. She refused. Dr. Breary says he challenged her about whether she was making this decision against the wishes of 7 consultant pediatricians and asked if she would take responsibility for anything that might happen to other babies the next day. He says Miss Rees replied yes. The following day, another baby almost died, again while Letby was on duty. The nurse still worked another 3 shifts before she was finally removed from the neonatal unit, more than a year after the first incident. The suspicious death and collapse then stopped. Dr. Breary says he felt managers were trying to engineer some sort of narrative that would mean they did not have to go to the police. If you want to call that a cover-up, then that's a cover-up, he says now. Dr. Breary and his colleagues finally sat down with Cheshire Police a couple of weeks later. They were astonished, he says. The next day, Cheshire Police launched a criminal investigation into the suspicious baby deaths at the Countess of Chester Hospital. It was named Operation Hummingbird. Dr. Breary said, late one evening he was going through some historic medical records when he discovered a blood test from 2015 from one of the babies on his unit. It recorded dangerous levels of insulin in the baby's bloodstream. The significance of the test results has been missed at that time. The body produces insulin naturally, but when it does, it also produces a substance called C-peptide. The problem with the insulin reading that Dr. Breary was looking at was that the C-peptide measurement was almost 0. It was evidence the insulin had not been produced naturally by the baby's body and had instead been administered. It made me feel sick, Dr. Breary recalls. It was quite clear that this baby had been poisoned by insulin. Letby would ultimately be charged with 7 murders and 15 attempted murders between June 2015 and June 2016. She was found guilty of all 7 murders and 7 attempted murders. Please like, share and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Thank you. Canada wildfires. British Columbia province declares emergency. A state of emergency has been declared in Canada's western British Columbia province as a fast-moving wildfire threatens to destroy more homes in the area around the city of West Kelowna. Premier David Abbey warned, the situation has evolved rapidly and we are in for an extremely challenging situation in days ahead. The McDougall Creek wildfire has grown from 64 to 6,800 hectares in 24 hours. Some 4,800 people are now under evacuation orders. Separately, about 22,000 people, or roughly half the population, have been displaced in Canada's Northwest Territories because of another huge wildfire. Residents have been scrambling to leave by air and road in an effort to escape a wildfire moving towards the outskirts of the city. He said that more and more people were being evacuated, warning that emergency orders could include travel restrictions to specific areas if people do not respect our calls to avoid non-essential travel. He said more and more people are being evacuated, warning that emergency orders could include travel restrictions to specific areas if people do not respect our calls to avoid non-essential travel. Local officials have already reported significant structural loss in the area, including in Traders Cove, just north of West Kelowna. No deaths have been reported so far. Local residents are used to the fire because of a California-style climate in the area, but the heat, dryness and wind seen in recent days had created a perfect condition for a firestorm. The airspace around Kelowna International Airport has now been closed to everything other than aerial firefighters. The wildfires in northern Canada seems to be getting worse, and what makes it worse is how Canada shot themselves in the foot, as I will discuss in the next article. Canada demands Meta lifts news bans to allow wildfire info sharing. The Canadian government on Friday demanded that Meta lift a reckless ban on domestic news from its platform to allow people to share information about wildfires in the west of the country. Meta started blocking news on its Facebook and Instagram platforms for all users in Canada this month in a response to a new law requiring internet giants to pay for news articles. Some people fleeing wildfires in the remote northern town of Yellowknife have complained to domestic media that the ban prevented them from sharing important data about the fires. We are calling on them to reinstate news sharing today for the safety of Canadians facing this emergency. We need more news right now, not less, she said. Transport Minister Pablo Rodriguez earlier said the ban meant people did not have access to crucial information. Canadians can use Facebook and Instagram to access contents from official government agencies, emergency services, and non-governmental organizations, the spokesperson added. Meta says users do not come to its platform for news, and forcing the company to pay for content shared on its platform is unsustainable for its business. Well, the Canadian authorities and the Canadian government decided to institute a law that forces these big companies to pay for the news, and then now that these companies feel that it is not a profitable and just law, they've decided to not share news, and then you blame the company for not sharing the news. How about you just remove the law and automatically the news comes back? Unfortunately, sometimes people don't really think the consequences of their actions, and now hopefully the Canadian government will wake up to the fact that they've made a very, very big error in trying to force these big companies to pay people for their news as opposed to allowing the news to spread freely. China launches drills around Taiwan in angry response to VP's US trip. China's military began drills around Taiwan on Saturday, saying it was a serious warning to separatist forces in an angry and widely expected response to visit by Vice President William Lai to the United States, drawing condemnation from Taipei. Lai, the frontrunner to become Taiwan's president at elections in January, returned from the United States on Friday, where he officially made only stopovers on his way to and from Paraguay. Taiwan's defense ministry strongly condemns the drill, saying it will dispatch appropriate forces to respond and has the ability, determination, and confidence to ensure national security. The launch of the military exercise this time not only does not help peace and stability in Taiwan Strait, but also highlights China's militaristic mentality, the ministry said in a statement. Taiwanese officials had said China was likely to conduct military exercise this week near the island, using Lai's US stopovers as pretext to intimidate voters ahead of next year's presidential elections and make them fear war. China has particularly disliked of Lai for his previous comments that he was a practical worker for Taiwan independence. On the campaign trail, however, he has pledged to keep the status quo and repeatedly offered talks with Beijing. China has over the past 3 years ramped up military pressure on Taiwan, including sending military aircraft and warships near the island. In the next article, you will see why China is not really in the best position to be trying to start a war with anyone right now. China unveils measures to revive stock market. China's security regulators unveiled a package of measures on Friday aimed at reviving a sinking stock market, but investors said they would do little to boost confidence if the economy remains sluggish. The China Securities Regulatory Commission (CSRC) proposed steps including cutting trading costs, supporting share buybacks, and encouraging long-term investment to support a stock market that has slid to 9-month lows. The CSRC said on Friday that stabilizing the stock market was a priority. Without a relatively stable stock market environment, there's no basis for reviving the market and lifting sentiment, the regulator said. The key to lifting market sentiment is to rescue the economy, and the property market is the crux, news said. The market is short of confidence because investors see no concrete measures to fix the economy. Listed companies will be encouraged to buy back shares and offer investors steady streams of dividend payouts. The CSRC will also study measures to restrict financing activities by companies and sectors whose shares trade below net asset value or initial public offering prices. Although the market had expected China to introduce a so-called T+0 mechanism to allow shares to be bought and sold on the same day, the CSRC did not include that among its proposals, saying it could drive speculation and harm small investors. Currently, investors can only sell stocks on the second day of purchase in China. Clearly, China is trying very hard to rebalance and pull its economy out of a downward tailspin, and this is why I don't think they'll be able to start a war on any front because they're too busy trying to handle the domestic issues. Along with all the floods and the fluid inflation, there is so much problems that China has to worry about than Taiwan. India closes in on moon landing as Russia also races to lunar south. Bengaluru. India's space agency on Friday released images of the moon taken from its Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft as it approaches the lunar south pole, a previously unexplored region thought to contain water ice where Russia is trying to land first. The lander module's health is normal. LM successfully underwent a deboosting operation that reduced its orbit to 113 kilometers. The Indian Space Research Organization ISRO tweeted. Russia's moon mission is on track to land the Luna 25 on August 21st, 2 days before India's spacecraft. Rough terrain is expected to complicate a landing on the lunar south pole. A previous mission by India's space agency, the Chandrayaan-2, crashed in 2019 near where the Chandrayaan-3 will be attempting to touch down. Russia's space agency Roscosmos has said the Luna 25 mission would spend 5 to 7 days in lunar orbit before descending to one of the 3 possible landing sites near the pole. For India, a successful moon landing would mark its emergence as a space power at a time when Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government is looking to spur investment in private space launches and related satellite-based businesses. IBM blockchain and AI expert says ChatGPT poses several key risks for enterprise use. Chief Technology Officer of IBM Automation Jerry Cuomo recently said what he claims are several risks associated with using ChatGPT for enterprise. There are several key risk areas, Cuomo said, that businesses should consider before operating ChatGPT. Ultimately, however, Cuomo concludes that only non-sensitive data is safe with ChatGPT. Once your data enters ChatGPT, you have no control or knowledge of how it's being used. Cointelegraph reached out to OpenAI for comments regarding the above statement and received the following response from a public relation intermediary via email. The data will not be shared with others who ask relevant questions. The representative also referred to existing documentation on ChatGPT's privacy features, including a blog post detailing the ability for web users to turn off their chat history. The ChatGPT API has data sharing turned off by default, according to OpenAI. Well, as I've said in my previous videos, that if you are a person who's interested in AI and if you're a business that is interested in AI, it would be wise for you to run your local LLM on your own computer or your own servers as opposed to having to rely on ChatGPT. There are many open source large language models, LLMs, that are just as good as ChatGPT, which you can run for free and which you can train and you can improve with your own company's data, which then would give you more specific data based on what your company is working on or what your company's business model is. Coinbase halts USDT trading for Canadian users starting August 31st. In an email dated August 17, Coinbase, a cryptocurrency exchange, revealed its decision to halt trading of Tether USDT, DAI, and the RAI stablecoins for Canadian users starting August 31st. This surprising development comes shortly after Coinbase's recent announcement of its complete expansion into the Canadian market, including trading the largest stablecoin globally, Tether. These cryptocurrencies will be suspended from trading on August 31st at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. However, Canadian users still can deposit and withdraw these stablecoins after suspension. Although Coinbase did not provide a specific reason for suspending USDT, DAI, and RAI, it mirrors the move made by crypto exchange Crypto.com in January. The exchange had dropped support for Canadian USDT in response to the Ontario Securities Commission's directives. A month earlier, the Canadian Securities Administrator clarified that stablecoins like Tether and other value-packed assets such as wrapped Bitcoin are considered securities. Currently, the only stablecoin approved by the Canadian Security Administrator's CSA for trading on centralized crypto exchanges is the USDC coin. Due to the new regulations, OKX, a crypto exchange, withdrew from Canada in June. Likewise, Binance, another crypto exchange, is set to exit the Canadian market by September due to a new guidance related to stablecoins and investor limits. Canada seems to be getting really good at shooting itself in the foot, and this is another way it's shooting itself in the foot, and unfortunately, there's nothing much that can be done except to watch how Canada deals with the situation in the long run. As both their foots are gone, they're probably going to have to crawl their way out of a lot of things. Thank you for staying till the end. I'll see you again on Monday.